scot-free. So, sir, we want your opinions at that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for having me once again. The topic under consideration, which is rape, is one of the offenses. Is one of the offenses that is very difficult to establish and prosecuted that will lead to conviction eventually. And as we continue in this discussion, we'll see the reason why most time it is difficult. But first of all, we have to know what rape is all about. But definitely, most of us will know what rape is. But from the legal perspective, it is better we put it straight so that we know the confine within the subject of rape covers. Rape is a type of sexual assault, which is usually involving sexual harassment or intercourse or other forms of sexual penetration into another person without the consent of that other person. So, in summary, you can say rape is having sexual intercourse with another person without the consent of that person. In the age-long history as we have, most time, rape is predominantly committed against women or girls. But as society progresses, expand, and how do I put it now? Do we say, okay, modernization? Then it begin to graduate not only about women and not only about girls. A male person too can be molested and so on and so forth. But now, even going beyond that now, it can now happen between a man and a man, woman and a woman, because of the issue of gay and all the lesbianism that we are having around the world now. So, the bottom line is that anything that has to do with sexual intercourse or penetration through any part of the body, which does not consent, which does not, where the other party does not consent to that penetration. Now, 80 or 90%, whichever way we still look at it, 90% of the rape cases today are still against women or girls. Yes, 90% of rape cases are still against men or girl or women. Yes, but most times you see that this offense is difficult to establish, is difficult to prosecute, that will lead to a logical conclusion that will secure conviction. And the reason for this are not far-fetched. For instance, number one, mainly we have two parties when it comes to the issue of rape. We have two witnesses predominantly, the suspect and the victim. So we have the suspect and the victim, because these things happen between the two of them. And now, if rape case happened, the next thing is that what should the victim do? The next thing is to go and report as early as possible at the police station. Now, going to the police station to make a report, now you can see that a third party has come into it. Then the police will want to carry out the investigation. The first thing they will ask the victim to do is to go and produce what we call medical reports to actually show that these things happen. And now the medical report, then meaning that the victim will now have to leave the police station and go to a medical facility or to go and meet a medical doctor to a hospital to get the report in this regard. Now, at the point of getting to the hospital, he will narrate the whole story, what happened and all of that and all of that. Having done that, then she will be subjected to certain tests will be carried out on her. And when the medical examination has been carried out or conducted, it will be given to her. That will now serve as evidence whether this thing she's saying is actually true or not. That is one leg. So, assuming without considering that, okay, the medical report has showed that yes, truly your body have been tampered with, there have been a penetration, and that you submit that to the police. The police will not end there. They will take the matter to court. You see three different stages now, three predominant stages, from police station to the hospital, then to the court. Now, most of the time, victims are not ready to go through all this rigor. Why? Because this is a shameful thing that people doesn't want the public to know. That even if it happened to them, they want to conceal it as best as they can, so that it will not become a kind of public discussion. So because of that, the moment they get to the police station and they say, okay, go to hospital, go and get this, many a times some of them will back out at that level. If they don't even back out, by the time they get to the hospital and before the doctor will do whatever he needs to do, they will have to narrate the whole story again. The trauma that she went through while telling the police, the same trauma is going to go through while narrating the same thing to the doctor. And then if she escaped that, by the time we go to court eventually, the whole thing is going to be relayed again from the beginning to the end, how it happens and this and that and that and that. So because of that, most people doesn't really like to prosecute and go ahead with the rape cases. Now, assuming they are even ready to go, the family are saying let's go. I have handled so many in recent time where even it is the family are even saying they don't want. It is the community that was saying no. I think this kind of allegation have been coming against this man. We need to bring him to book at this time. Let's see how we are going to deal with it. But then the family will still tell you that if he has been doing it all this while, why didn't you prosecute him all this while? It's not my own that we use as a case study. So those are the challenge that are there. That is one. Then secondly, let's even assume that they are ready to prosecute, everything is going on. Like we have said, from the police station to the hospital, the doctor report has confirmed that yes, there's penetration and this and that. The another leg of it is, how are we sure that it is this person that you allege that committed this crime that is the one that penetrated? So that will now subject them to another round of tests, maybe a DNA test or whatever, to actually prove that it is this man that penetrates this on social time and all of that. I believe the doctor will share more light on those areas when the time comes. So it is always a very serious hurdle to cross. It's a serious hurdle to cross. And most time, victims don't report immediately. The reason why some of them delay is because at that time when the trauma happened, they can't even control themselves. They can't go through all those rigors and all of that. But maybe by the time they are now settled, it's okay. They want to pursue it. Then at that time, most of the evidences that will be very very germane that will lead to conviction must have already been destroyed. The scene of the crime at that time cannot be intact as it was at the early stage or at the immediate time. And so many things like that. And the intervening period, if even if medical doctor is to come in at this time now, they'll say, okay, there's penetration. How are we know? How are we going to be sure whether before that time and now several other persons must have penetrated? So those are many factors that make it to be very difficult to. So majorly, victims are always very scared of pursuing the case because of stigmatization, because of humiliation, and because of shame that they will be subjected to in the public space. But that notwithstanding, it is always a very good one if one can pursue the case to a logical conclusion so that it can serve as deterrent to others in the society. In criminal law, there is or in law generally, there is what we call statute of limitation. Statute of limitations is to the effect that every matter, every cause, they have their prescribed time within which you can bring the action in that situation. For instance, if you say a rape has been committed between from between social period and social period, were you able to bring the matter to court. So statute of limitation. And in Nigeria, we have two major or principal laws that guide our conduct in Nigeria. For instance, we have the penal code and the penal code. The penal code is the one that is guiding the criminal activities, regulating criminal activities in the north, while the criminal code is the one regulating in the south. And all of them has their different provision, but they are very similar as well. Yeah. So before now, they used to say, okay, within 2 months. So if you have to do anything within about rape, you have to bring it up within 2 months. But I think that one was being reviewed to reflect 2 years. But now they have said that, okay, no, you can even bring it at any time, no limitation to it, so that this perpetrator, because it seems as if the law is making it easier for the culprits to go scot free. So because of that, they remove that. And even if they now remove that okay, if at any time you can bring it, if you are bringing a rape case 5 or 7 years later, I wonder how that would be very easy to prove. Something you can't prove immediately when it just happened. How you are going to
You know,
prove it 7 years
seven
later?
years.
So, so those are the issue as far as those areas are concerned. So, generally, it is a very tedious job for the victim to prove, and the burden of proof is on the victim. The burden of proof is on the victim. It is expected that the victim prove his case to the logical conclusion that will end conviction eventually, and it is always very difficult. If one of those challenges, the medical practitioner can compromise, the police can compromise, and so on and so forth. So if at the end of the day you are not sure of justice, then people will conclude that, why should I now decide to go and advertise myself to the public in a bad light, something I'm not even sure of justice about. So most times you just see that, and I can tell you that the majority of rape cases are not reported. Almost on daily basis, rape is ongoing. Almost on daily basis. Yes, because the main ingredient in proving rape is the issue of consent and penetration. And consent, if I don't give consent and you lay with that person, then you have committed rape. But at times, consent too can even be obtained by fraud. Consent that can be obtained by threat. They can threaten somebody if you don't, for instance, armed robber, when armed robber will come, the victim they will by themselves submit to that whatever that happens, but it was by threat. That is not their original intention. So all of that are the broader perspective of it. Thank you very much.